Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the MetaStellar YouTube channel. My name is Maria KOROLOV. I'm the editor here at MetaStellar, and I'm here to tell you that the best-selling free speculative fiction book on Amazon today is about a ship sent to investigate a classified scientific research station near Mars that's gone radio silent. But before we get to that, I have 9 other books to talk to you about. You see, every single Friday, the team here at MetaStellar reads the first few chapters of every book on Amazon's top 10 free science fiction and fantasy list. Today I was helped out by news editor Alex Korolov, assistant fiction editor Terrence Smith, community members Tim McHugh, Christina Brown, Mary Stoll, and Lilibet Dominguez-Torres. Unfortunately, none of them can make it here today to join me, so I'm going to be all by myself, but I miss you guys, and I hope to see you back on next Friday. Okay, so we've got a lot of books. Before we get into them, if you don't know, MetaStellar is an online magazine of speculative fiction. All the content is always free to our readers. We publish original short fiction, reprints, excerpts, essays, and lots of book reviews. We are able to do this and keep all the content completely free thanks to our Patreon supporters. We love you guys. And our first anthology is out. You can buy it. The link is in the description box below, available in print and electronic form from all major retailers. We're working on our second anthology, and today is the last day of our spring submission cycle for original fiction. So we do pay for original fiction, thanks to our Patreon supporters. Today is the last day to submit. The next time you'll be able to submit original fiction is next fall, but you can submit reprints and excerpts at any time. Okay, so with that out of the way, let's get into the books. Where are the books? Here are the books. Okay, book number 10 is Marked by Bridget Baker, the first of 6 books in The Sins of Our Ancestors, a post-apocalyptic young adult series. The other books are $1 to $5 each, but they're not in Kindle Unlimited. Kindle Unlimited is where you pay $10 a month and you read all the books you want. Really good deal if you read more than a couple of books a month, which I do. So I read the beginning of this one, and I have to say I'm not the target audience for this book. I did like Hunger Games, so I can, in theory, enjoy young adult post-apocalyptic books. But it's an uphill battle to get me to like one. And this one, not so much. Okay, so the protagonist is Ruby. She's almost 17. She's been in love with a guy named Wesley for 3 years, but hasn't said a word to him. Oh my God, so much teen drama. I can't even. Anyway, so she's at a campfire with a group of teenagers, and she bickers with her best friend, and then everybody plays spin the bottle, and she gets to kiss her crush. Oh my God, she gets to kiss her crush. And all of this is in the background of this post-apocalyptic world where some people are marked and some people are unmarked. And Wesley, the handsome guy, who's the son of the town's mayor, he spins the bottle, it points to her, so they go off to kiss. This is the highlight of her life. And he doesn't want to kiss her. So something about the fact that they're going to find out soon if they're marked or not, and if they're marked, they're doomed to death, blah, 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 you know, post-apocalyptic, you know, stuff. So she's mortified. She kisses him instead. And as they pull apart, she notices a rash on his forehead. Oh my God, he's marked. He's gonna die within the next 3 years, and now because they kissed, so will she. Well, okay, that's a strong beginning. Is that enough to keep him going? No. Like I said, too much angsty teenage drama. But if you're into that, and a lot of people are, I mean, there's a reason these books do really well. Here it is. It's free. I do have to say that the writing is very engaging and compelling. Just not for me. All right, next we have Where Oceans Burn by Casey Bond, the first of 2 books in the Where Oceans Burn duology, a fantasy romance series. The other book is $5 each, but it is in Kindle Unlimited. So Terrence and I both read this one. So what happens is that there's 2 tribes in this fantasy world. One lives under the ocean. The other one, it can fly and lives in the sky. Elira is up in the sky. She can fly, and her best friend just died. And she thinks that she suspects that her best friend died because she was meeting some guy who lives in the ocean, kind of a Romeo and Juliet kind of situation. So she's got a secret that she's kept hidden. And there's an annual ceremony with an oracle where you have to tell the truth, but the way it knows that you're telling the truth is by your blood somehow. And she's been getting her friend to give her some blood so she can give it to the oracle, so she can lie to the oracle. And now her best friend is dead. She doesn't have her friend's blood anymore, so she asks somebody else if she can use his blood, and all this stuff starts coming out, and she tries to lie to him about why she wants the blood, and lots of drama. But one thing that Terrence and I both noticed is that the book is extremely lyrical and poetic. So if you like books with beautiful language, even though it can be confusing, a little confusing at times, you might really like this book. Like, it's really, really poetic and beautiful. But I'm not much for poetry, so not for me. And not for Terrence, but Terrence said that he could imagine himself sticking with it. So I guess it's his kind of thing. Okay, next we have Stone Guardian by Demelza Carlton, the second of 5 books in the Heart of Steel paranormal romance series. The other books are $5 each, but they're not in Kindle Unlimited. And we have reviewed so many books by Demelza Carlton. So what she does is she rewrites classic fairy tales in a sexy, romantic way. Super popular. So many of her books have been on this top 10 list. And she will regularly make some of those books free. So if you don't want to spend any money and you just hang out and wait for them to pop up, a lot of them will show up on the free list. So definitely something to keep an eye out for if you like these kinds of books. So this is a sequel, and I don't want to give away what happens. So I'm rerunning our review of the first book in the series, which is called Heart of Steel. So we meet Carlene, a witch who has promised her overprotective brother she won't use her powers of witchcraft ever again. But she doesn't think there's any harm in using witchcraft to protect her safety and to protect her mill. So I guess she's a liar. Mary Stoll, she's the one who read this review, says that Carlene shoots and kills trespassers who show up at the mill when her brother leaves her alone one day. And then she does a ritual to turn these men into immortal warriors who will protect her home. She feels justified in this because her magic is set up not to be activated unless someone has bad intentions. So then her brother comes home, sees her using her magic. He's not happy about this. And turns out that witches aren't welcome in this setting and can be burned. And he also tells her that 2 of the men she killed were relatives of hers. She didn't recognize them, but they were actually cousins. And that explains why they looked vaguely familiar to her when they showed up. And so her brother takes the bodies into his boat, promises to give them a decent burial. Mary says that this is an interesting story, but she's not sure that she likes the protagonist, who doesn't seem to have any remorse about killing her cousins and wasn't squeamish about cutting their hearts out. Mary said that she'll be sticking with it because it's intriguing and she wants to see what happens next. Next, we have Cursed by Kat Cotton, the first of 2 books in the Belford Vampire Brothers, a young adult paranormal romance series. The other book is $4 and it's not in Kindle Unlimited. And Lilibet Dominguez Torres read this one. So this is a story of Rose, who's 17, who's also goes by Rebel, who lives in a boring small town and is dying to have her first kiss. So she goes to her friend's farmhouse on the outskirts of the city and meets a sexy motorbike guy with emerald eyes at a stoplight, and her life changes forever. She feels an immediate connection to him. And then the point of view switches to somebody else, and then we realize that that connection was mutual. Our second main character is Flynn Belford, who's one of the Belford brothers. And they're both vampires, and Flynn is cursed to die soon unless he finds his soulmate and lifts his curse. He has a strong feeling that he'll marry Rose one day, but something bad happened to his previous beloved, so he's kind of unsure about what to do next. Lilibet says that the book starts out slowly and not much happens in the first few chapters, and she doesn't think that she's gonna like the rest of the book. First of all, there's Rose's point of view, who's like a bored teenager who wants to have her first kiss. And she has her mind set on one guy already, and then the minute she meets this vampire on this motorcycle, she wants him instead, so she's a little flighty. And also the vampire is almost 100 years old. And she hasn't even had her first kiss yet. That is just gross. And I agree with Lilibet there. This premise really, I don't know, really disturbed me. So Lilibet says that the vampire himself referred to her as a child at one point. So, but that's not gonna let him get, stand in his way. So she's gonna pass on this one, and yes, so will I. But Vampire Diaries had a similar premise, so apparently people like that plot idea. Just not me. Okay, next we have Rune of Secrets by Kelly Jane, the first of 2 books in the Enchanted Shadows fantasy romance series. The other book doesn't seem to be available on Amazon yet. Tim McHugh read this one, and he says that the story takes place in a high fantasy world full of royal families, elves, and fae. And he loves high fantasy stories, but this one is too romance heavy for him, so he doesn't think he's the target audience. And so the book starts out with a royal princess, Rowena, who's heir to the throne. She's participating in a tournament because she's really good with sword fighting, but she's beaten before she can get to the championship duel. And we meet a bunch of her friends and acquaintances, and her best friend, her troublesome foster cousin, both of whom she's attracted to. And then we have this tournament, and things move along pretty slowly. Then her father is betrayed, and some of her family is murdered, and Rowena is utterly lost without them and wants to avenge them. And this is where Tim stopped reading. But from what he understands, Rowena is going to come to grips with fate and face her destiny, and she's also going to meet some other hauntingly handsome man. So he doesn't like the fated romance trope, me neither, but plenty of people do like it. And he does say that the writing is solid, although sometimes the dialogue is a little bit corny. And there's a lot of over-explaining in the narration, which is his personal pet peeve. But other than that, he says the writing is really good. He's not sticking with it, but if you like your fantasy with a good dose of romance, you might really enjoy it. Next, we have Dragon Shift by Clarissa Gosling, the first of 3 books in the Dragons of Kate Stud, a young adult epic fantasy series. The other books are $5 each, and the series is not in Kindle Unlimited. Lilibet Dominguez Torres read this one, and she says that the book is set in a world where there's 4 shifter clans that rule the continent: the Bear Clan, the Wolf Clan, the Cat Clan, and the Foxes. And our main character, Birgith, is 16 and is in the Bear Clan with her father. And she's adopted. Her father found her on his doorstep one day. But in reality, she's the result of his forbidden romance with one of the last dragon shifters. All the dragon shifters were hunted down and eradicated, so Birgith is keeping her true origin a secret. But everything could change during the annual testing ceremony. Every year, every 16-year-old must prove themselves worthy to the clans by shifting into their animal forms. And she's very nervous about this because what if she changes into a dragon and everyone finds out that she's a dragon and kill her? So her uncle is the leader of the Bear Clan, and he's going to turn on her and hunt her down like a monster. But during the ceremony, she's not able to shift into anything. So they decide that she's just a mere human and kick her out of the clan. So Lilibet says that the pacing is fast and the story is interesting to keep you engaged from the very first page. She really enjoyed this writing, and she plans to continue reading and see if Birgith manages to prove herself to her clan and regain her place again. And she's curious about the dragon shifters and what really happened to them. Okay, next we have Amber's Discovery by Mara Jaye, the first of 6 books in the Intergalactic Warriors science fiction romance series. The other books are $4 each, and the entire series is in Kindle Unlimited. The 6th book isn't out yet. It's scheduled to be released this coming June and is available for pre-order. And you probably know everything you need to know about the book just from seeing the cover. Yes, that's a woman, and there's 2 half-naked guys there with her. But let's read into this. Let's read it. Okay. So I'm not a fan of sexy alien romances. I like my aliens to be part of an intergalactic invasion fleet. I want space battles, lots of explosions, that kind of thing. Or maybe like a thoughtful book with like some kind of weird alien creature that's hardly even recognizable as alive. You know, something like that. But I don't want any interspecies shenanigans. Anyway, so the protagonist is Amber. She's worried about paying her bills. She runs a bed and breakfast and apparently isn't all that good at it. It doesn't help that it's near a town named Dead Dog Creek. So not exactly a tourism-friendly name. So she's sitting there trying to figure out which bills to put off when her phone rings. It's her boss. I guess she works at a local store to help pay the bills. And her boss wants her to get her gun and come to the store to help defend it. And before explaining like how and why he hangs up on her, she tries to call him back, goes to voicemail. So she calls another fellow coworker, and the coworker says, "Turn on the news. There's been an alien invasion." So on TV, she sees that alien spaceships are going around, sucking up people, and everyone is panicking. And like an idiot, she goes outside to stare up at the sky. I'm like, you know, if aliens are sucking people up, don't go outside, right? But that's just me. Anyway, and an alien ship flies over, but lucky for her, doesn't suck her up. Instead, it drops a mess of like ooze down on the ground near her house and flies away. So she considers waiting for a hazmat crew to come and deal with the ooze. But instead, like an idiot, she goes out to check it out. Because, sure, radioactivity. Why not, right? And she thinks about this. She thinks to herself, that might be dangerous and radioactive. And then ignores that thought and goes to check out this pile of ooze. And 3 aliens come out of this pile of slime, and they look like aliens. They look like weird animal kind of things that are roughly human-sized, maybe a little taller. Then they argue among themselves in some alien language, and then they go inside her bed and breakfast and sit down to watch TV. So she follows them inside, because I guess that's what you do. She doesn't understand what they're saying, but they can understand her because they're wearing translator devices. So anyway, with a little trial and error, she figures out how to like ask them questions and see what they want. And they want a shower, they want food. So she's like, she has these alien guests in her bed and breakfast. And she wonders to herself, how in the world are they going to pay their bill? But despite that thought, she sets them up with showers and clean clothes and food. And also, for some unknown reason, she promises to hide them from human authorities if anybody comes looking for them. Why? Why is she doing this? I don't know. Then in the next chapter, we switch to the point of view of a guy named Bane. He's some kind of interstellar cop. He's an alien himself, but he looks human, and he's on Earth to keep the planet safe from other bad aliens. And he's annoyed that these other aliens have shown up, sucking up people, causing havoc. So I'm guessing that he and Amber are going to get together at some point, and maybe some other guy who we haven't met yet. So it is a fun romp. It is over the top. It is a little ridiculous, but it is very enjoyable reading. I mean, I'm not going to stick with it, but it's definitely a fun read, and it does promise to get sexy. I mean, judging by the cover at least. Okay. Moving on. The Whisperers of Evernow by Heidi Catherine. This is the first of 5 books in the Kingdoms of Evernow, an epic fantasy series. The other books are $1 to $5 each, but the entire series is in Kindle Unlimited. Christina Brown read this book for us, and she says that it's about Jeremiah, who lives in a land ruled by a vicious king. And the king gets all his wishes granted by an army of whisperers. They can speak wishes into reality. And Jeremiah is chosen to be one of these whisperers. That's going to save his family from starvation, so he goes along with it. His father's health is failing. His mother's pregnant. He feels a strong sense of duty to protect them. Last thing he wants is to serve the king, and who's making people suffer, but at least his parents will be provided for. Also, the king has a beautiful daughter, but he's forbidden to speak to her or even look at her. So, he's likable, and there's an interesting magic system involved. But Christina says it's not quite unique enough to hold her interest. And Jeremiah is so altruistic, she'd rather he was a little selfish and a little flawed. But if you're a fan of epic fantasy with an underdog who's going to be going up against the manipulative evil king, you might like this book. All right, next we have Safe Passage, The Road Ahead by Clay Wise, the 4th and most recent book in the Safe Passage series. We previously reviewed the first book in January of last year and the second book last May. All the books are in Kindle Unlimited. And the author has several other similar books on Amazon, 2 of which have also made it to the top 10 list. So, popular author, popular genre of books. And the genre is EMP survival. EMP stands for electromagnetic pulse. It's caused by a solar flare or a nuclear bomb or an EMP generator. And it takes out electronics, but leaves plants and animals unharmed. And they don't even notice that it's happening until their phone dies. So I'm not a fan of these, but I guess there's a kind of wish fulfillment kind of thing that's going on where all electronics magically stop working and people are left to their own human devices. Um, but not for me. I don't like apocalyptic stories because they're a little too close to reality for my taste. So we decided to run the review of the first book so that we don't spoil it for ourselves or for you guys. And in the first book, Lori and her teenage daughter are looking for food and books, trying to avoid running into looters in a city that's been all but destroyed. So this takes place in the aftermath of an EMP attack. Then we get a flashback to 2 years prior, before everything happened, when she was living with her daughter and her husband Jesse, and the news is talking about a big solar flare that's coming. And Lori's an English teacher at a local high school. Then we switch back to the present day, where Lori and her daughter are basically commandos, and they have no qualms about killing people if they need to in order to survive. So the book is very readable and suspenseful. Lori reminds me of Sarah Connor in the Terminator series, but EMP survival books are not my preference for leisure reading. So this isn't the kind of book that I would stick to, but a lot of people love it. Finally, we have the #1 book on today's top 10 list. But before we go into that, I want to thank our Patreon supporters. You guys are awesome. Marie Leclerc and everybody else who's donating money to support our ability to publish original fiction and pay emerging authors. You guys are fantastic. Thank you so much. The link to our Patreon is in the description box below. All right, on to the book. So Aurora Darwin by Amanda Bridgeman is the first of 7 books in the Aurora Space Opera series. The other books are $5 to $6 each, but they're not in Kindle Unlimited. So Alex KOROLOV read this book, and he says it takes place in a near future where humanity has colonized both the moon and Mars, but it starts slowly, taking its time to flesh out the characters. There isn't much action in the first 4 chapters, so there's more setting and characters. But there is a prologue. And in the prologue, a criminal is on a spaceship that's doing some kind of shady cargo transport mission between the moon and Mars. Something goes horribly wrong. The crew's attacked. And now Mars is attacked by some kind of monster that throws him against the wall and viciously murders him. Okay, so then we move on to chapter 1. With Captain Saul Harris. He's been on shore leave on Earth, and he's been recalled to deal with something that's come up. A classified scientific research station near Mars has gone radio silent. And so it's probably connected with the prologue monster. Okay, so his ship, the Aurora, has been assigned to go check it out. It's leaving in the evening, and his crew, which is all guys, is now being supplemented with 3 women. And apparently he isn't happy about the random addition of 3 women, and also thinks there's something fishy about the mission, but he can't get any more information from his commanding officers. So I'm curious about why his crew was originally all male and why it's a problem that he added women to it. I mean, women are great for space travel. They're smaller, they breathe less oxygen. Their fingers are small, they fit into places, right? I mean, anyway. So then we meet one of these 3 women, and they meet the captain, and the captain tells them that this is going to be a one-off mission for them. So he doesn't strike me like a nice guy. Then they all get ready for this mission. So, like I said, very slow build up. Alex says even though the book is slow, he might consider reading on. He has a feeling that the action will pick up once the mission actually gets going and the crew gets to the research station. So he's hoping that there's going to be some monsters on the space station that the Aurora crew will have to deal with. All right. And this was our top 10 free science fiction and fantasy books on Amazon today. Pick them up now because they won't stay free for long. what authors and publishers do is they make the first book in the series free in order to get interest in the whole series. And then they come out of the free offer, and they might not be free again for months or years. So grab them while they're free, check it out. It's a great opportunity to find out if you like this particular author, because you never know, you might find your new favorite writer, which has happened to me. I've found my new favorite writers on these free Fridays. All right. Thanks everyone for joining me. I'll see you all next Friday. Happy reading. Bye-bye.